In the beginning, there was no life, no sound, and no memory, only silence. Deep, endless, and patient. The universe was still young, a sea of darkness scattered with tiny sparks of light, each one the heart of a newborn star. Those stars were the first storytellers, their lives measured in fire, their deaths written across the sky in magnificent bursts of colour. They burned, collapsed, and exploded, scattering the elements that would one day form everything: worlds, oceans, creatures, and the thoughts that would dream of them. The story of human life does not begin on Earth, it begins among those stars. The carbon that gives your body structure, the iron flowing through your veins, the oxygen that fills your lungs, all were created inside stars that died billions of years ago. Every breath you take carries atoms forged in the hearts of suns. You are, quite literally, a piece of the universe made aware of itself. Imagine that moment, billions of years before humanity existed, when a dying star released its final light. In that explosion, that brilliant scattering of matter, the seeds of your existence were sown. Those particles travelled through space for eons, drifting across galaxies, drawn by gravity and chance. They gathered, slowly and silently, into clouds of cosmic dust. And from those clouds, new stars were born, new planets spun into orbit, and one small, blue world began to form. Our planet began as molten chaos, a swirling sphere of fire and stone, wrapped in storms that raged for millions of years. Comets rained upon its surface, bringing water and the essential elements of life. The seas boiled, the skies thundered, and deep within those turbulent waters, something miraculous began to stir. From the chemistry of chaos, order began to whisper. Molecules met, bonded, and learned to copy themselves. It was here, in the cradle of the primordial ocean, that the first breath of life was taken. Those tiny, self-replicating molecules were the ancestors of everything that would ever live. They had no eyes, no lungs, no minds. Yet within them lay the code for all possibility. Slowly, over billions of years, they became more complex, forming cells, little worlds within worlds, each one alive with motion and purpose. Inside them, the ancient dust of stars was now awake, moving, dividing, and dreaming. Every living thing you have ever seen, the trees that bend with the wind, the whales that sing beneath the sea, the birds that rise toward the sky, all trace their lineage back to those same cells. Life spread, evolved, and adapted. It took on endless forms, filling every corner of the earth. The ocean shimmered with colour, forests pulsed with sound, and the air itself became alive. The planet had become aware, but the journey of that stardust was far from over. Somewhere, in the heart of the African plains, it learned to walk. It learned to think, to imagine, to ask questions about its own existence. And as it gazed upon the night sky, at the same stars from which it was born, it began to remember. You, sitting here, breathing, are the continuation of that same memory. The iron in your blood once pulsed within an ancient star. The calcium in your bones was formed in cosmic fire. The hydrogen in your body is older than the galaxies themselves. You are not a visitor in the universe. You are its child, its expression, its consciousness made flesh. When you look at your hands, you are seeing billions of years of transformation. From dust to molecule, from cell to organism, from creature to human. Evolution has been sculpting you since the dawn of time. The atoms that make you have lived countless lives before yours. They have been parts of oceans, mountains, trees, and other beings long before finding their way into you. You are, in every sense, ancient. And yet, you are also new. A fleeting moment in a vast cosmic story. The stars that once forged you still burn in the sky, watching silently as you continue their work. They gave you your beginning, but through you, they found something they never had awareness. Through your eyes, the universe observes itself. Through your thoughts, it questions its own nature. Consider the breath you take right now. Within it are molecules that have passed through the lungs of countless creatures before you. Through the forests that exhale oxygen, through the whales that sing beneath the ocean, through the ancestors who once looked at the same moon. That breath is ancient and infinite, passed from life to life, connecting everything that has ever lived. There is no separation between you and the stars, between your body and the universe. The same laws that guide the planets in their orbits guide the cells in your veins. The same chemistry that gives rise to galaxies gives rise to thought. When you touch the earth, you are touching yourself. The same matter rearranged in a different form. Humanity's story, when seen through this lens, is not one of dominance or conquest, but of connection. We are the universe experiencing its own beauty, one heartbeat at a time. Our existence is not an accident. It is the natural result of the cosmos' desire to evolve, to express, to know. When you look at the night sky, you are not looking into the unknown. You are looking into your own reflection. The stars that glitter above are not distant strangers. They are your origin, your history, your very essence. Their light has travelled for billions of years just to reach your eyes, to remind you of what you are. Every human thought, every discovery, every act of creation is the continuation of that first explosion of light. The universe began with energy and chaos, but through us, it found consciousness and curiosity. We are stardust that learn to wonder, to dream, to love. And in that, there is something profoundly divine. Not in the supernatural sense, but in the sheer beauty of existence itself. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the long journey that brought you here. Imagine the stars burning in the void, the planets forming from dust, the oceans boiling with life. Imagine the chain of creatures that lived, died, and evolved, each one carrying forward the same spark that now burns within you. That spark is unbroken. It has never been extinguished. It has only changed form, moving endlessly from one vessel to another. When you feel small beneath the vastness of the sky, remember, you are not small. You are part of something so immense that it cannot be measured. You are made of the same matter that shapes galaxies, born from the same forces that hold the cosmos together. The atoms within you are ancient travelers, shaped by fire, carried by time, and gathered here, now, to become you. You are the dust of dead stars breathing, thinking, dreaming. You are proof that the universe is not empty. It is alive, curious, and full of meaning. When you speak, the cosmos finds its voice. When you dream, it imagines itself anew. Every heartbeat you feel is a reminder of this. A rhythm that began long before the earth existed and will continue long after. So when you lie beneath the stars tonight, Do not feel distant from them. Feel the quiet connection, the shared pulse that binds everything together. For in truth, you are not beneath the stars. You are among them, made of them, and forever one with them. You are stardust come alive. The story of life is not a sudden miracle. It is a slow unfolding, a whisper that grew into a symphony. In the beginning, the universe was silent. Its only voice the hum of energy expanding through endless darkness. Yet hidden within that silence was potential, the quiet urge to become more, to see, to feel, to know. Evolution is that urge made visible. It is the universe learning step by step to awaken. The earliest life was simple, microscopic, fragile, and blind. It floated through ancient seas, driven by nothing more than chemistry and chance. These first organisms knew nothing of beauty or meaning. They existed because the laws of physics and time had allowed it. And yet, within their tiny walls, something extraordinary had begun. The slow awakening of awareness. They absorbed energy, responded to their surroundings, and passed on their patterns to the next generation. That, in its simplest form, was the beginning of memory. Each small advance in life's complexity was like the universe opening its eyes a little wider. Cells learned to cooperate, to share energy, to build communities. Colonies that thrived by working together. Over millions of years, those collaborations became tissues, organs, and entire bodies. The single cell became a creature capable of movement, of hunger, of choice. It was the first faint flicker of what we might one day call consciousness. Evolution, at its heart, is not random chaos. It is a patient sculptor, guided by time and adaptation. With every failure, it learns. With every extinction, it refines. It is the universe experimenting with form and function, searching for new ways to express the same eternal energy. Every species that has ever lived is a variation on that single theme. Matter discovering what it can do when given the chance to evolve. From the depths of the ocean, life crawled onto the land, and from the forests, it reached toward the skies. The creatures that walked this earth carried within them the same ancient chemistry that had begun in the sea. The spark of stars, now wrapped in skin and bone. Through them, the universe began to sense the warmth of sunlight, the texture of earth, the sound of rain. The cosmos, once distant and unfeeling, was now able to experience itself through living eyes. Consider the evolution of sight. Once, there were only light, sensitive cells that could distinguish brightness from shadow. Over time, those cells formed clusters, then primitive eyes, capable of perceiving shape and movement. Eventually, they evolved into organs that could capture color, depth, and beauty. The universe had given itself the gift of vision. Through the eyes of fish, birds, and mammals, it could now see its own landscapes, its own oceans, its own vastness. It could look upon itself and recognize its own grandeur. The same was true of hearing. Vibrations in the air that once meant nothing slowly became messages, signals, songs. The early creatures began to listen, to respond, to communicate. Each adaptation was a step toward awareness, a deepening of experience. Life was no longer just surviving, it was beginning to feel. Every heartbeat, every breath, every moment of struggle and triumph. All of it was evolution's way of refining consciousness. The predator and the prey, the flower and the bee, the forest and the flame. All were interconnected, each one shaping the other in an endless dance. In this delicate balance, the universe learned harmony. It learned the meaning of cause and effect, of birth and decay, of cycles that repeat yet never remain the same. Then, one day, after billions of years of quiet persistence, a creature emerged that could look up at the stars and wonder what they were. A creature that did not just live, but asked why. This was the moment when the universe truly awakened. For the first time, it had produced a being capable of reflection, one that could look back upon its origins and say, "I am made of that." Humans were not the first intelligent life, but they were the first to seek meaning beyond survival. They learned to imagine, to dream, to create symbols that represented the world around them. They began to see patterns in the seasons, in the stars, in their own thoughts. The same stardust that once drifted through galaxies had now become self-aware, capable of thought, language, and love. Evolution had turned the universe into a storyteller, but this awakening came with a cost. To be conscious is to feel both wonder and sorrow, to see beauty and impermanence entwined. Humans could now imagine their own end. They could remember the past and fear the future. Yet even in that fear lay the deepest expression of awareness. The knowledge that life is temporary and therefore precious. From the first spark of life to the birth of consciousness. The journey has been one of increasing complexity, not only in form but in feeling. The universe did not simply want to exist. It wanted to experience existence. Through evolution, it found ways to sense, to remember, to connect. Through us, it found a mirror. Every thought that crosses your mind, every emotion that stirs within you, is a continuation of that cosmic awakening. When a human child opens their eyes for the first time, the universe replays its ancient story. Light meets perception, and awareness begins. Each new generation carries within it the echoes of billions of years of transformation. You are not separate from that process. You are that process, temporarily gathered into form. Your mind, capable of memory and imagination, is evolution's masterpiece, the most intricate pattern the universe has yet produced. And still, it continues. Evolution did not stop with the rise of humankind. It lives in every cell division, in every adaptation, in every idea that changes the course of history. The invention of art, of language, of science. These are not accidents. They are the next stages of the same cosmic journey, energy learning to understand itself. Look at the world around you. The forests that breathe in rhythm with the wind. The coral reefs that shimmer beneath the waves. The migrations of birds that trace invisible paths across the sky. Every one of these patterns is the universe at play, learning balance through movement, expressing creativity through life. The universe is not a cold, indifferent place. It is alive with curiosity, with the quiet drive to explore its own possibilities. And you, your consciousness, are the sharpest lens through which it observes itself. Your thoughts, your emotions, your memories. These are the universe's reflections, shaped by billions of years of trial and wonder. When you feel awe, it is not simply a reaction, it is recognition. You are remembering what you are part of. You are the cosmos realizing its own majesty. Even in sleep, when your mind drifts into dreams, evolution continues its ancient work. Your brain weaves images, stories, and emotions, a nightly rehearsal of creation. Dreams are echoes of that same cosmic imagination, the same spark that led life from the oceans to the stars. When you dream, you are, in a sense, the universe dreaming of itself. And so, evolution is more than a biological process. It is a spiritual one, not in the sense of religion, but in the sense of deep connection. It is the thread that ties everything together, from quarks to galaxies, from cells to souls. It is the reason you can feel wonder when looking at a sunset or sadness at the passing of time. It is the reason love exists, because the universe, in awakening, discovered that connection gives meaning. Through us, the cosmos has found its own reflection. Through our hands, it shapes new worlds. Through our curiosity, it explores itself. And through our compassion, it begins to understand what it means to be alive. Every act of kindness, every discovery, every dream, all are part of this great awakening. We often think of evolution as something that happened long ago, but it is happening now, within you, every second. Cells die and are replaced. Thoughts form and fade. Your body changes, your mind grows, your awareness deepens. You are not a finished product. You are a process, ongoing, unfolding, eternal. When you look at the stars tonight, remember, they are not watching you from afar. They are watching through you. The light that began their story continues through your consciousness. The same forces that forged galaxies now shape your thoughts. You are the moment when the universe opened its eyes and saw itself for the first time and whispered, in awe, "I am alive." For countless millennia, life had been guided by instinct alone. Creatures rose and fell, adapted and perished, their existence written into the quiet rhythm of nature. But deep within the human lineage, something began to stir, something unseen yet profound. It was not a new muscle, not sharper claws or keener sight. It was something invisible: imagination. Before words, before memory, before civilization, our ancestors lived in harmony and struggled with the elements. They were shaped by the same earth that bore them, carved by wind, rain, and hunger. Yet somewhere in the vast wilderness of prehistory, a group of humans gathered around a flicker of light that would change everything. Fire. At first, it must have seemed like magic. A living creature that danced and devoured, a force both dangerous and divine. It could destroy forests, yet warm the freezing night. It could consume life, yet protect it from beasts. And in that shimmering glow, something changed within the human mind. Around that first fire, fear turned into fascination. The shadows it cast on cave walls became shapes and symbols, the first mirrors of imagination. The heat of flame brought not only warmth to the body, but light to the mind. Humans began to see not just what was, but what could be. The world became more than survival, it became story. The fire gave birth to reflection, both literal and metaphorical. For the first time, humans could sit in the safety of light and look into the darkness, to think beyond the immediate hunger or danger. The day's labor faded into evening conversation. The mind, once consumed by instinct, was now free to wander. From those glowing embers came the first whispers of myth. The crackle of wood became the rhythm of storytelling. Around the campfire, knowledge passed from one generation to the next. The young listened to the elders speak of the stars, the hunt, the mysteries of life and death. The flickering flames seemed to dance in time with their voices, each spark a fragment of memory cast into the future. That is where humanity's soul began, in the glow of firelight and the echo of story. For the first time, our ancestors created meaning. They no longer saw themselves as mere animals. They began to see themselves as part of something larger. Fire gave them mastery over nature, but imagination gave them purpose. With imagination came creation. Hands that once only hunted and gathered began to paint. In caves across the world, from France to Indonesia, humans left marks on stone, depictions of bison, horses, and spirits. These were not random images. They were expressions of awe, gratitude, and fear. The first art, the first dreams etched into time. When we look at those ancient paintings today, we see more than primitive sketches. We see consciousness reaching outward. We see minds discovering the power to remember. The walls of caves became humanity's first canvases, the first libraries of emotion. Each brush of pigment was an attempt to understand existence, to give shape to thought, to bring the invisible into view. As fire spread, so did imagination. The mind evolved to match the rhythm of light and darkness. By day, humans learned, worked, hunted, and built. By night, they dreamed. Sleep became a rehearsal for the imagination, a world where anything was possible, where fear and wonder danced together. Through dreams, the brain practiced creativity. It learned to combine memory with vision, reason with emotion. And so, imagination became not just a gift, but a survival tool. The power to imagine allowed humans to plan, to invent, to hope. They could see a future that did not yet exist and shape their actions toward it. A stick became a spear. A stone became a blade. The world was no longer fixed. It was malleable, shaped by thought. Fire had given them light, but imagination gave them control over time itself. And with that, something remarkable happened. Humans began to build worlds within worlds. They created languages, symbols, and rituals. They learned to name things, and in doing so, they gave them power. To name a thing is to define it, to hold it within the mind. With words, humans could share not just information, but emotion. They could teach what they had learned and preserve what they feared to forget. The invention of language was humanity's second fire. It lit up the mind in ways even flame could not. Now, thoughts could leap from one consciousness to another, surviving beyond a single lifetime. Knowledge no longer vanished with death. It lived in memory, in sound, in story. The storytellers became the keepers of wisdom. Their voices carried the weight of generations. They told of the origins of the earth, the spirits of animals, the mystery of the stars. These were not just tales, they were frameworks for understanding. Through story, humanity learned morality, courage, love, and grief. Through story, we learned what it meant to be human. Imagine one such night, thousands of years ago. The fire burns low. The stars above stretch endlessly across the dark sky. A child leans close to their parent, listening to a story of how the moon came to shine or how the first people learned to speak. The flames dance upon their faces, and for a moment, time ceases to exist. The same awe that you feel when gazing at the stars today was alive in them then. That shared wonder is unbroken, passed down through every age. From those firesides grew civilization itself. Storytelling taught cooperation, trust, and belonging. It gave tribes identity and purpose. It wove individuals into communities, linking hearts through shared imagination. From myth came culture. From culture came progress. Every tool we've ever invented, every city ever built, every symphony ever written, all began as an image in someone's mind. Imagination was the fire within the brain, burning long after the embers faded. It is what allows us to turn thought into reality, dream into structure, chaos into meaning. When humans discovered how to shape metal, carve stone, and farm the land, they were guided by the same creative spark that once made them draw on cave walls. That spark evolved into innovation, the curiosity to ask, what if? And every time someone asked that question, the universe expanded a little more through the lens of human experience. But fire was not only creation, it was a reminder. It taught balance, how power and destruction can be two faces of the same force. In its warmth lay survival, in its rage lay ruin. To master fire was to learn responsibility, to understand that creation demands care. This lesson would echo through all of human history. From the first spark of flint to the splitting of the atom. Even now, when we look into the flicker of a candle flame, we are reminded of that ancient moment when humanity first saw its reflection in light. That quiet fascination lives on in every artist, every scientist, every dreamer. We are still the same beings who sat around the fire and imagined worlds beyond the stars. Only now, our fires burn in machines, in cities, in the digital glow of our screens. Yet the essence is the same, the yearning to understand, to create, to connect. When you speak, when you write, when you dream, you continue that same sacred act. You add your own spark to the great fire of consciousness. Each idea, each story, each moment of insight is a flame passed forward through time. It connects you to every human who ever lived, and to every star that ever burned. For imagination is not merely human, it is cosmic. It is the echo of creation itself, the reflection of the universe's first light. Fire was the universe's way of reminding us of our origins. That energy, once born in the heart of stars, now burns within our minds. And so, when you watch the fire dance, remember it is more than warmth and light. It is memory. The memory of the cosmos learning to dream through you. From the quiet rhythm of nature to the steady crackle of firelight, humanity had already begun to imagine. Yet imagination alone was not enough. The universe had awakened through life, but through humanity, it was learning to speak. Language was the bridge between thought and eternity, the invisible thread that wove one mind to another. In the beginning, communication was simple. Gestures, cries, and songs carried meaning across the early tribes. But even in those primitive sounds, something sacred stirred, the power to share what was unseen. When one human could express hunger, joy, fear, or wonder, the mind of another could understand. For the first time in history, consciousness began to merge. Language evolved not from logic, but from empathy, the need to connect. Our ancestors learned that sounds could shape memory, that rhythm could hold meaning. A single word became a seed of civilization, carrying thought beyond the limits of a single brain. What one person discovered no longer vanished with their death. It became part of the collective story. Each word spoken was a spark added to the great fire of knowledge. It spread slowly, invisibly, but with purpose. Language transformed survival into society. It made cooperation possible, invention meaningful, and dreams shareable. It allowed humans to name the stars, the rivers, the feelings in their hearts. And in naming, they made the world their own. The earliest words were likely simple food, water, danger, friend. Yet hidden within those syllables was the blueprint for everything that would follow: poetry, law, philosophy, science. A sound became a symbol became a concept, and a concept became a bridge between minds. The air itself became sacred, carrying the vibrations of thought across time. Language gave birth to memory in its truest form. For when something is spoken, it lives beyond silence. When it is written, it lives beyond death. The first carvings on stone, the first markings on clay tablets, these were acts of defiance against forgetting. Through them, humanity began to build continuity, to carry its story forward. With words came questions, and with questions came curiosity, the most powerful force in human evolution. Curiosity was the next great flame, burning not in the hearth but in the mind. It drove humanity to explore, to seek, to uncover the unknown. It turned the gaze outward toward the stars and inward toward the soul. Curiosity asked, "Why does the sun rise?" And "Where do the rivers go?" It wondered at the thunder and the sea, at birth and death, at the patterns that shaped existence. It questioned the nature of everything, and in doing so, created the first science. The early thinkers watched the heavens, measured shadows, tracked seasons, and learned to predict the rhythm of the world. From this simple wondering came knowledge, not as possession, but as revelation. Knowledge was humanity's way of understanding itself. It was the continuation of the universe's awakening, now sharpened into thought. Every discovery was an echo of that first awareness, the stars realizing what they were made of. In time, curiosity built cities. It gave rise to agriculture, architecture, mathematics, and medicine. It taught humans how to bend nature without breaking it, how to turn the chaos of survival into the order of civilization. Villages became kingdoms, kingdoms became nations. Roads, temples, and libraries rose from the earth like extensions of the mind. Humanity had learned to externalize its thoughts, to make ideas visible. The first libraries were not merely collections of words. They were monuments to consciousness. Each scroll, each tablet, was a fragment of the collective human mind, a record of what the universe had learned through its most curious creation. In those silent halls, the wisdom of generations waited to be rediscovered over and over again. Language also gave rise to philosophy, the art of questioning itself. Humans began to look beyond the physical and into the abstract. They asked not only how, but why. They pondered justice, truth, beauty, and love. They wrote of gods and stars, of mortality and purpose. Through words, humanity gave voice to the ineffable, the things that could not be touched but could be felt. And in this vast web of words and ideas, knowledge began to compound. One generation's questions became the next generation's answers. Curiosity became the lineage of progress. From the first spark of thought to the birth of mathematics, from the discovery of fire to the exploration of space, every step was taken on the bridge that language built. But the growth of knowledge was not without danger. For knowledge without wisdom is like fire without control. It can illuminate or destroy. History is filled with both. The same curiosity that built temples also forged weapons. The same intelligence that healed could harm. Each age of progress carried its own shadow. Yet even in the darkest moments, the light of understanding persisted. It is no coincidence that every civilization, from the dawn of time, has honored its storytellers, philosophers, and teachers. They are the keepers of the human flame, the guardians of language and learning. Through their voices, humanity remembers who it is. They pass on the lessons of joy and sorrow, triumph and failure, reminding us that knowledge is not just for power, but for purpose. Consider, for a moment, the invention of writing. When the first symbols were pressed into clay or painted on parchment, something miraculous happened. Thought gained immortality. The spoken word, once bound by time and distance, could now travel through centuries. A voice from 3,000 years ago can still speak to you today across oceans of silence. That is the true magic of knowledge. It transcends death. When you read an ancient poem or gaze at the hieroglyphs on a temple wall, you are not simply looking at art. You are touching the consciousness of another being who once wondered as you do. Their hands moved with the same curiosity. Their hearts beat with the same awe. The human story, in all its vastness, is one continuous conversation, an echo passed from generation to generation, written in breath, ink, and thought. And through that conversation, the universe has grown wiser. Because when one mind understands, all of existence becomes richer. Each new discovery reshapes not just human life, but the cosmic story itself. When humanity learned to measure time, the universe learned to count its moments. When we discovered gravity, the universe learned to name its own pull. Knowledge is not merely something humans possess, it is something the cosmos achieves through us. Each insight, each question, each word spoken in wonder, these are the universe's thoughts taking shape. You, as a human being, are one of its neurons, a cell in the vast brain of creation, and together, through curiosity, we form its consciousness. The greatest scientists, poets, and dreamers have always known this truth. They did not see themselves as separate from nature, but as its voice. When a thinker gazes through a telescope or writes a formula, they are listening to the whispers of the universe. When a poet writes about love, they are expressing the force that binds all matter. The same gravity that holds galaxies together. Civilization at its core is the unfolding of curiosity. Every innovation, every work of art, every law and philosophy is an attempt to understand, to bring the unknown into the realm of meaning. We build not to escape nature, but to echo it. Our cities are patterns of life as intricate as coral reefs. Our networks of communication mirror the neural webs of the brain. Even our digital systems, artificial and cold as they may seem, are extensions of our desire to connect, to think, to dream. Language remains the heartbeat of it all. Despite the evolution of tools and machines, it is through words that we continue to shape our world. Every message sent, every story told, every song sung is another breath of the living universe. Through them, we keep the flame alive. And so, curiosity and language together are the twin lights of civilization. one seeking, the other sharing. One explores the unknown, the other makes it known. Together, they form the rhythm of progress, the song of consciousness evolving through time. When you speak, when you learn, when you wonder, you are participating in that grand, unbroken process. You are not apart from civilization, you are its continuation. Your curiosity is the same force that lit the first fire, that carved the first word, that built the first city. You are a link in the chain of awakening. The universe, through you, learning just a little more about itself. Somewhere in the great quiet of the night, as the earth turns silently beneath the stars, there beats the rhythm of everything that ever was. The same atoms that once burned in ancient suns now rest within your heart. The same light that crossed billions of years to reach this planet now glimmers softly in your eyes. The story of human evolution is not finished, it is unfolding, here and now, through you. For though we speak of the past, of the oceans that birthed life, the forests that shaped us, the civilizations that rose and fell, the true story of evolution is one of becoming. It is a motion that never stops, a current that flows through every cell and thought. We are the continuation of everything that has ever learned, ever struggled, ever dreamed. Inside you, the universe is still creating. Your heartbeat is a pulse older than stars, echoing rhythms set long before the earth cooled. Your breath is made of air first forged in supernovae. Even as you rest, millions of tiny processes hum within you. Ancient symphonies of chemistry repeating the miracles of creation. Each thought you form is a spark of consciousness born from that endless dance. Consider how remarkable it is that you can even wonder about your own origins. The cosmos, through all its vastness, has produced a being capable of self-reflection, a fragment of stardust able to contemplate the stars. The story of human evolution is, in truth, the story of the universe awakening to itself. Yet this awakening is not limited to the mind, it lives in the heart. Compassion, curiosity, love. These are not inventions of civilization. They are the natural expressions of a consciousness learning to care for itself. When you feel empathy for another being, you are honoring the same spark that ignited in the first living cell. When you look at the night sky and feel wonder, you are remembering where you came from. Throughout history, humanity has gazed outward, mapping galaxies, climbing mountains, reaching toward the heavens. But there is another journey, a quieter one, that moves inward. It is the exploration of what it means to be alive, to think, to feel. The same curiosity that sent explorers across oceans also drives us to search the depths of our own minds. In each generation, the outer and inner journeys mirror each other. When we discovered the atom, we saw that the smallest things contain entire worlds. When we peered into space, we found that vastness and intimacy are reflections of the same mystery. And when we look within, into consciousness, emotion, and spirit, we find that the universe is not only around us, but also within us. Every dream, every idea, every act of kindness adds to the ongoing evolution of humanity. Our species no longer evolves only through biology. It evolves through thought, through art, through awareness. The neurons of our minds are the forests of the future. The connections we form with others are the ecosystems of the soul. Each generation inherits not just genes, but wisdom, the accumulated light of those who came before. And so the story continues. The tools may change, stone to metal, metal to circuit, but the essence remains the same. We are still searching for meaning, still building bridges between ignorance and understanding. The language may evolve, but the song is unchanged, the song of life, discovering itself. There will come a time, perhaps, when humans look back from worlds far beyond Earth, when our descendants stand under alien skies and remember this blue cradle where it all began. They will carry within them the same atoms, the same ancient pulse. They will tell stories of oceans and forests, of courage and wonder, and in those stories, this moment, your moment, will live on. For nothing in the universe is ever truly lost. Energy transforms, matter endures. The thoughts you think, the kindness you share, ripple outward into eternity. They become part of the great pattern that connects everything. When you teach, when you heal, when you create, you are adding a verse to the eternal poem of existence. Perhaps that is the secret meaning of evolution. That life learns not merely to survive, but to love, to imagine, to dream. The culmination of billions of years of change is not power or dominance, it is awareness. The ability to know beauty, to feel gratitude, to whisper to the stars and understand that they are listening in silence. In the grand timescale of the cosmos, a human life is only a flicker, a brief shimmer in the vast night. Yet that flicker contains everything. Within a single lifetime, you carry the history of all creation. You inherit the strength of every ancestor, the wisdom of every struggle. You are the universe condensed into thought and breath. And though we often feel small beneath the stars, remember, the stars themselves are not above you, they are within you. Their light is your light. Their story is your story. When you gaze upward in wonder, you are not looking at something separate. You are recognizing your own origin. So as the night deepens and the mind softens toward rest, think of this. You are part of a story that began before time, and it continues through you. Every heartbeat, every moment of awareness is the universe learning something new. Even your dreams, those quiet journeys through imagination, are echoes of creation itself. There is peace in knowing this. The world may change, civilizations may rise and fall, but the current of life endures. The atoms of your body will one day drift again through the cosmos, perhaps to form a new world, a new life, a new consciousness. And somewhere, long after memory fades, the essence of what you are will still exist, still part of that great unfolding story. The dream of human evolution is not a chapter of the past. It is the page being written now, with every breath you take. It is the soft murmur of generations yet unborn, the hum of galaxies still forming. It is a story without end, told in the quiet language of time. And as you listen, as you drift slowly into sleep, let that truth settle gently within you, that you are not alone, not separate, not forgotten. You are the continuation of everything that has ever loved, ever hoped, ever wondered. You are the dream of the universe made real, still unfolding beneath the eternal stars. Rest, then, in that knowing. Rest in the vastness that holds you, the silence that sings through every atom of your being. The journey of life continues, and tonight, as you breathe in rhythm with the cosmos, you are part of its living heartbeat.